Joel Rosen. I wanted to welcome you back to another edition of your Adrenal Fix. And today I want to talk to you about the best two tests for adrenal fatigue. So if you're suffering with fatigue, you crash in the middle of the day, you've been to so many doctors, and number one, they don't believe in this thing called adrenal fatigue. They only define it as an adrenal insufficiency. They only do a blood test for your cortisol. If anything, they do a cortisol ACTH stim test, and you pass that with flying colors. Your blood tests are normal, yet you have anxiety, you don't respond to stressors anymore, you have crashing of energy, you don't feel like exercising, you're accumulating weight around that midsection, you don't sleep through the entire night, you have a little more energy at the beginning of the day potentially, but then it's downhill from there. Or maybe you never get energy, or when you eat you get energized, you're shaky, lightheaded, and jittery, or stand up you get dizzy. When you haven't eaten, or when you do eat, you crash after a meal. And if this describes you to a T, which I know it does, then you're suffering with an adrenal fatigue problem. And so what I wanted to do is talk to you about what we can do to determine what the extent of the adrenal impact is, and then more importantly, how we can get your energy back, and how we can tell you you're not crazy, that you really are suffering with a real condition. How we can design a protocol to impact what's actually going on and get to the root causes of the problem, so that you have energy and that you're focused and you don't get anxious and you sleep throughout the night. You wake up with a lot of energy. You don't crash in the middle of the day. You go out with your friends socially. You're not worried about your job because you can't concentrate. That's what we're doing here, and that's what this is all about. Anyway, so we do a 4-point urine test and a 4-point saliva test. So what's special about the fact that it's a 4-point test? It's special because it looks at your circadian rhythm response to cortisol being released throughout the day. What the heck does that mean? It means that you don't just do a blood test at one time of the day in the morning and then be told, okay, everything looks great. The problem with that is that the way your cortisol, and in fact the way your hormones work, is they work on a circadian rhythm. Meaning when it's light out and the sun rises, our cortisol level should be nice and high, and we should be bounding out of bed with a lot of energy, and we should be ready to tackle the day and do our to-do list before noontime and really feel productive. And then when the nighttime comes and it's darker, then we should be really tired. We should hit the pillow, fall asleep like a baby, and then wake up and do that the entire next day. And how many of us are doing that? Not too many. So the 4-point test, whether it's a urine test or a saliva test, is going to capture the circadian rhythm. So now we're not just looking out into the ocean like this and being asked, is there any boats out there? And you say, no, there's no boats out there. But then all of a sudden you do this. It's like, oh my goodness, there's all these boats in all these other directions. That's the analogy of having a blood test and being told, do you have any cortisol problems? Nope, there's no cortisol problems. Yet when you take the blinders off and you look at the different times of the day, all of a sudden you see all these other impacts. So that's number one. Number two, there's a difference between urine tests and saliva tests. Urine tests are going to be your metabolites, so what's being used up. The example I use is if you went to a gun range and you did a lot of target shooting, then all of those casings are spent. That means how many bullets you used up. Same thing in your urine. When you pee out the metabolites of cortisol, so we can get a better idea of the total amount that was peed out, as well as the free amount that's been not bound to a protein. There's different types of metabolites or used up portions, whereas saliva only looks at the free fraction. So there's pluses and minuses to both. I've talked about in the past how not only blood tests suck, I've talked about how saliva tests suck. And saliva tests don't necessarily suck when you want to capture a better reflection of your circadian rhythm. It does a better job than urine at looking at your circadian rhythm, whereas urine does a better job of looking at all your different hormone metabolites. So a lot of the times when we're in a stressed out stress response, we rob from Peter to pay Paul, meaning we steal your estrogen or we steal your testosterone or your DHEA, so we don't feel a lot of libido, and we feel like we're breaking down, and we don't repair ourselves, and we just don't feel up to snuff, so so to speak. So what I'm doing now is I think I'm the only one that I know that tests for adrenal fatigue that combines both of these tests. So we're looking at both your free fraction of the hormone through saliva at different times of the day, and we're looking at your total metabolized cortisol and all of the impacting metabolites and the other hormones when we do your urine test. And that's a true way to measure your specific response to your stressors. And then most importantly, once we get those information, we get that back, and we look at all the other things that are impacting your life, we can design an adrenal fatigue recovery program. So like I said, you have bounding energy, and there is hope, and we can do this. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this edition of your Adrenal Fix. Please give me a thumbs up, a share, a like, a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Your Adrenal Fix. Check out my blog. It's adrenalfatiguesociety.com, and make sure you check me out on Facebook. It's Adrenal Fatigue Recovery. It's a Facebook group. We just went over 30,000, so I'm super happy about that. And I do free 15-minute phone consults so we can troubleshoot your specific adrenal fatigue problems so we can get your life back. Anyways, my name's Dr. Joel Rosen. I call myself the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and I look forward to helping you with your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.